use them to communicate, to observe the Earth for a variety of reasons. And the only problem is that they are so expensive. Not only that, it takes a lot of money to get them into their orbit too. So people have lately started to play around with pseudo satellites. Now, pseudo satellites couldn't be done before uh, because of battery power. You see, pseudo satellite is basically an airplane that it can go for pretty much ever until its mechanical design doesn't wear out, really. But it has batteries, and then it charges up those batteries using solar power during the day. And it then uses that power to stay aloft at night. It also uses some of its altitude gained, and it also gains altitude so that it doesn't have to have batteries. That's a free way of storing energy. You don't have to invest in any weight on yourself. And they're pretty great, right? People have been playing around with these things, and they generally look a lot like really giant airplanes made out of very, very um, judicious use of very advanced materials and some really spectacular battery technology. It's right on the edge of what's technically possible, and there's really the weight of the batteries that's limiting this, but also the structure of the airplane is not negligible. So I would like to talk about the structure of the airplane. Uh, you see, uh, the airplane that, that they usually put up is something like this. A normal airplane with a fuselage in the center and these really, really long wings with solar panels on them. And that's a lot like a cantilever. Okay, so you have a big weight that's going down, and you have a lot of lift distributed across the wing. I'm cognizant it's not quite like that. There's usually less lift on the edges, but okay, it's just a diagram. So generally, we can consider it to be a cantilever. Now, the thing about cantilever is that, well, cantilevers are not that great at handling forces on the very edge. Think about bridges. A bridge that goes very, very far is usually a suspension bridge. Okay? And in airplane terms, a suspension bridge is something like this. So, a suspension bridge is basically a paraglider. A paraglider has like wires, a canopy, uh, and those wires pull down on the parachute, and the lift forces keep the parachute spread apart and going up. Um, so this is pretty lightweight. In fact, I don't know if you can make it more lightweight. This is a uh, just a textile, really, and these are just wires. Now, at high speeds, you don't want to have wires in your design, but at speeds that these things will travel just to stay up in the same spot, maybe it doesn't matter so much. These speeds are not insignificant because the winds up there are pretty fast, actually. They can go 100 kilometers an hour even. But hey, if you're willing to invest in a little bit of advanced materials, then you could possibly make these wires out of some very thin stuff and then cut down on some of that drag. Um, then there is the matter of the parachute itself. And this is where we run into a bit of a problem. Okay, so then we're going to talk about the aspect ratio. So what you basically want to be able to glide is like a really um, wide, but a wide wing, but not a very thick wing. So the aspect ratios and like the best gliders are something like 30, 30, 33, or whatever. I think there is one made to that spec, to one. And really, the paragliders only go to about 7 to 1. So they're a little bit thicker. Now, you might be able to get away with it a little bit because you still need those solar panels. You need to put them somewhere. So maybe you really don't want the 33 extreme, but I'm not sure. I have not designed this. I would love to see somebody tell me how all of this is a silly idea, but just wait for a little bit. The interesting bit comes next. So then, how do we design this wing, right? If it's just a textile, then it probably wouldn't work. Uh, you can't. This is a very thin, like wing, wide and thin. So how do you make such a thing, right? And the whole idea I had was to put in some structure into this design, into the wing design, so that you keep it from collapsing in on itself. Now, it's a very interesting question. Would it be possible? How much weight would it take to put in this uh, extra material to prevent the collapse of the wing in on itself, uh, considering everything that it has to go through. The possibility of flutter, um, all of the things that you have to deal with when you're up there in 100 km/h winds. And I don't know the answer. I really think that this would be like a somebody's multi-year project to really, with certainty, or with high level of certainty, say what it would be, what it would be necessary. But it's an interesting idea. Now, something akin to this was done before, right? By NASA. They had this really long wing, and they distributed the weight of the whole of the batteries along the bottom of the aircraft. Now, why did they put it on the bottom? Well, they also had two little wheels here and here, and that sort of tells you what it was. They needed a way to land. So, landing and taking off, really, that's the problem. So, if we go back to looking at what this would look like, I don't see any easy way of landing or taking off with this, other than maybe have some kind of drones that sort of grab the wing and take off with it and then let go once the thing is going airborne, and then catching it when it's coming back. Now, this is very complicated. Um, but this is also something that you can only do with modern technology, probably. Um, so, as a consequence, it couldn't be done before, really. And that's why, well, also you didn't have really, really good batteries before that would let you do this. So, um, this is a combination of two things that have really advanced themselves over the last 10 years to the point where maybe something as complex as this could be put up there. And the overall cost, though, once everything is perfected, should be cheaper than rockets and space grade satellites that have to handle the takeoff stresses of 3Gs. It and the shaking and everything. So, huh, would it be worth pursuing? Well, for some people for whom money is uh, no problem, I'm sure they would not mind throwing money at something like this. I'm just nowhere nearly one such person. But I hope somebody tries it. And why would you want to do this? Well, you get better cell phone coverage, better communications. You can get monitoring of the area for a variety of reasons, all sorts of stuff. I don't even know all the things that you could possibly do, but that's besides the point. So, anyways, the big idea being a paraglide wing with a semi-rigidity in it, and to prevent the collapsing on itself. So, if you know anybody who knows a thing or two about aerospace and maybe could ask some people for money or something, uh, you can give them the idea and maybe they can run with it. Um, and I hope it's of some use. And I would also like to hear from you if you just obviously see some tremendous flaw with this idea. It would be great to be publicly shamed. So, so, anyways, I hope to see you in the comments. Yes. Okay. Thank you. And that's that.